Welcome to our international podcast, Below the Belt. Good to have each and every one of you, wherever you guys are joining us from. Today, it is Thursday, the third day of February. How are you people doing? Pace and power in 2022. Pace and power, pace and power. We're going to have it no other way, folks. Pace and power. Again, really good to have you guys with us today. With us today, good to have each and every one of you, and we trust that you guys are well where you are. Coming up, Opposition Chief Whip Christopher Jones is going to be here. Coming up, Regional MP for Region 10, and Devon Sayers is going to be here as well as we continue to examine the budget. Folks, my throat's scratching since my presentation this morning. I want to cough. But that being said, folks, the guys are going to be dropping by as we continue to interrogate this budget, folks. And as you know, wherever you're joining me from, share the broadcast, share the live stream, share. Good to see each and every one of you again, folks. Welcome to our national podcast, Below the Belt. We know the pages are still going through the feed. It's going through some other social media platforms. And we are grateful to your company, grateful to have each and every one of you here with us, guys, wherever you're joining us from. And it's really good to see so many of you guys here with us. We are very, very heartened by your presence here. Very, very, very heartened by your presence. Again, Chisung Henry, good to see you. I see Stacey Ann Stoll is with us. Rick Ford is with us. Erwin Don Cook is with us. Richard Fordyce is here as well. Chisung, good to see you again. I see Roger Can is here. And Tessa Isaacs Gravesandi. Mark Allman is here as well. Good to have you guys. Below the belt. Guys, how are things where you are? How are things? That is what I want to know. I want to know how things are. I want to know how you guys are doing. Let us know. Let us know. Let us know how you guys are doing. Good to see Coretta Fraser Kingston. Good to see Karen. I see the names are rushing by so fast. Good to see Paulette Hawk Kippins and Sharon Grant. I see Richard Fordyce as well as here. Patricia Kissoon. I see Shondell Moses. Good to see you guys. There's a Roger Can here with us. Sharon, Pamela Jova. Good to see you. Verde France. Good to see each and every one of you guys as you come on. Share the live stream. And I think with us right now, we have on the floor of the National Assembly, David Patterson is making a presentation. And I think we're going to cut away to some of that. And then we're going to come back with more commentary. And we're going to be joined by Christopher Jones and also Stephen Sayers. And we look forward to having them. Really looking forward to having them with us, guys. So stay with us for that. David Patterson is on the floor of the National Assembly making his contribution to Budget 2020. And we are going to just listen in for a couple minutes, and then we're going to come back with you guys. Let's take a listen to what our colleague David Patterson is saying in the floor of the National Assembly as we speak. Let's pull in some of the audio there.
Bankruptcy without the means to clean up any oil spill, not to mention the nation's exposure to lawsuits from bordering countries. So the BP oil spill in the Gulf cost approximately $70 billion US, and the environmental damages persist. It is rather stunning with the proposed increase in production that the government is now talking about having Exxon obtain insurance to the value of only $2 billion. Sir, it begs the following question. Did Exxon cancel the $2.5 billion in private insurance that was put in place under the coalition government. Why would the government feel satisfied at only $2 billion US dollars worth of liability coverage when the BP spill in the Gulf of Mexico cost more than 70 billion US dollars? Sir, and if the government is satisfied with only 2 billion US dollars insurance coverage, how would any cost over and above that will be covered? Mr. Speaker, in similar fashion as they have addressed flaring, sir, the PPPC they've reversed every single progressive measure that we have put in place in dealing with oil production. The PPPC, upon taking office, immediately reversed the coalition's zero dumping of produced water mandate that was developed by the EPA, GGMC, the Department of Energy, and independent international consultants. This mandate was consistent with the World Bank's international standards that require reinjection and not dumping of this water that is 3 times hotter than the ocean and contains oil, radioactive elements, mercury, lead, arsenic, and other toxic chemicals. There is now a serious question surrounding the cause on the drop of fishing quantities offshore in Guyana as it relates to this dumping of produced water. Mr. Speaker, no one with any inkling of common sense would think that throwing all of those billions of gallons of hot, radioactive, and toxic water into our clean oceans would not impact our fish life. And most egregious is the government's nonchalant attitude towards a study that would find out what the impact is on our fishing environment. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, in September, sir, of 2020, the Commissioner of GRA, sir, reported that the audit of Exxon's pre-production costs, reportedly some US $460 million, was completed and handed over to the government.
There you have it, folks. The man himself, David Patterson, the former Minister of Infrastructure. And we're going to talk with David a little later on too, and on a subsequent program. Again, very, very substantive presentations by all of the opposition MPs. And really, 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 really hard work by the entire team. We are going to be talking again, I think first up with Devin Sears. Devin gave a phenomenal presentation representing Region 10, and we want to talk with Devin a little bit of some of the stuff that has been happening there. We want to talk with Devin, again, highlighting lots of the atrocities and the meanness and vindictiveness of the administration, the regime since they've come into power, with as it concerns Linden. And I think it is, some of it is worth rehearsing here. So we're gonna have David is going to join us in just a second. But guys, we really trust that the weather is fine where you are. We know we always start with that. And David is going to join us in just a second. We always start with the weather, and we really trust that the weather is great where you guys are today, according to weather.com that we respect. We got some trouble with the meteorological office locally, but the weather.com that we trust. The weather.com is suggesting It is suggesting that it's 28 degrees outside. Weather.com says that 28 degrees outside, but, it's always a but. It feels like, what does it feel like? They say it feels like 34 degrees. Folks, we have with us Member of Parliament and the Parliamentary Representative for Region 10, Devon Sears. Devon, welcome below the belt.
Thank you so much, Sharon, and to all our listeners. Well,
Devon, I know you're joining us on the sidelines of the sitting of the National Assembly, the debate on the 2020 budget, and we were just telling viewers, and I regret that I haven't been able to tell you this in person. You did a phenomenal job outlining what progress in Region 10 should look like and the many shortcomings of this regime as it concerns Region 10 specifically, and then some wider issues nationally. Devon, we were tremendously proud of that presentation you did in National Assembly. Talk to us a little bit about, for those persons who don't know, what these people have been doing in Region 10 and what they should be doing.
well, it's similarly to what they're doing all across the country. The PPP's objective is to take away democracy, something that we've fought hard, even to get our country's independence, and even the work that we have done within the 5 years that we're in office. Our main objective was to strengthen have a people-centered government. We introduced the local government arm, of which the PPP took away during the 23 years. But when we got into government in 2015, we brought back the local arm of governance. So we had our first local government election, and then we had a second. But then now, what we're seeing is that the government, they are having a top-down approach rather than a bottom-up approach. So the strength and the country is not being led by the people giving direction to the government. The government is giving direction to the people, of course, making every decision on their own without consultation. That's what we're doing. So in this year's budget, the administrative arm of the RDC, despite the councillors would have gone out into the various constituencies, had consultation with the residents, and then make submissions based on subcommittees to the administrative arm of the RDC. When they submitted that, upon instruction by the PPP, they would have cut out a lot of the projects that the councillors, that the people told the councillors what they want, essentially. That is what
Fantastic.
we've seen.
Yep. And you know what? Given it was an oversight of mine this morning, I actually didn't get to print one of the my pages for my budget presentation. But I want, as I have your attention now, to confirm with you some of the real foolishness that transpired under this administration that is going on, especially as it relates to infrastructure in Linden. And if you give me just a
Hmm.
sec, I am finding my place in the what was supposed to be printed, because I want you to respond to
Yeah.
that. Again, they are
Hmm.
talking about all of this stuff that they're doing. According to the title of this year's budget, they said they are steadfast against all challenges, resolute in building our one Guyana. And I really want to refer to what transpired in Linden quite recently, and to say to the people of this country, if this building one Guyana consists of what happened at the which area is this? This is the Rooney Access Road there, and also there was another area. So rather, what is more central here? The Silvertongue Wismar. There was a road that was recently rehabilitated that collapsed.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So
Yeah.
if building
This
look
is in
like that, then we want the kind of building.
correct. No, 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 no. We don't want to start a building at all.
And there was another area too, another access road, Hararuni access road, collapsed just after it was finished being completed. And there were a number of roads, even quite recently, in villages and communities in this country. And that's only one segment of a real infrastructure. For instance, Garden of
Hmm.
Eden is another one. And the fact that new generators there, these guys seem not to be knowing what they're doing, and lots of stuff. They have now taken 42 point something megawatts of power off of the grid And if this is building and what we're building looks like, we really want it, Divin. And you've articulated some things there for Linden. We've been following there too. The firings,
Mm.
the contracts that were
Yes.
taken back from the hospital
Mm-hmm.
pertaining to like taxi services and that kind of stuff, because these people
Yes.
fear they are supportive of of the previous administration. There was, I think, the ambulance brigade there that did some work
Yes.
also with the
Mm-hmm.
previous administration. All of those issues there since they came in, but no, they want to come now and to say, oh,
Sherrod,
we care about Linden people.
Sherrod, let me add some more. You had the firing of the workers and the 25 young people at NDMA. They canceled the ICT training program for young people and single parent. We had the real farmers when they were distributing the flood grants. The real farmers did not receive those grants, right? It's people who got a
Wow.
little fall plant in
Wow.
front of the yard. They receive the cash grants and these things. Imagine we started work for of the new RDC building, right? That's Low Caro. We started that. Imagine we cleared up that entire lot. We started laying foundation and started preparatory work. In this year's budget, there is no mention of the new RDC building. And every year we're taking on new staff, and it's cramped. The space is too small. Too small. You have people with 5 persons in one cubicle and these kind of things. The situation was real bad, and we were very upset about this. We need a new RDC building. The Linen Economic Network Fund, which has started a lot of small businesses. People had these little sweetie stand. They went into Lynn and got a loan for 300 or $400,000 and started their business. They took that fund completely away. In fact, they disbanded the board, and now you have the head of the organization who's making all the decisions as to who's going to get loan. In fact, they're not even getting loans. They're still depending or they're functioning on those outstanding payments of loans to pay their staff. So we see clearly that the PPP is not interested in giving Lindeners and Region 10 residents the necessary supports financially when it comes to starting up their businesses. There is no Linden Hospital Board. Cheryl, hear this thing. In this year's budget, they have allocated $2 billion for the Linden Soosdijk Highway. Of course, we had done the feasibility study for the Linden Soosdijk Highway, and we know it was going to cost more. That essentially has been cut to $2 billion. So they're going to do some work on the Linden Soosdijk Highway, and we know that's going to be a patch work. And then they have allocated close to $6 billion from Linden to Mabura Road, right? But here the important, which we welcome it, because we know that it's going to create opportunities for residents of Region 10 and more so Linden. But they left out the most important project of which we had completed the feasibility study, the soil testing, and everything. The Wismar Mackenzie Bridge. Now, if you have over $8 billion investment in roads, right, you're gonna leave out the Wismar Mackenzie Bridge. That is total nonsense. And that is the side of the government because they don't want to seem like, all right, we've been pushing for the Wismar Mackenzie Bridge and we're going to get mileage off of it. It's not about us, so much. It's about the people. And that is what APNU AFC cares about. But the PPP is looking at ways on which they could cart off some of the money.
Yep.
And
And
then we could go on and on.
thanks very much, Stephen. You know what is interesting? That the work has become easier for us on this side of the house, Stephen, because this administration has planned so poorly for the people in this budget here. Everybody who listened to Ashley Singh read the budget in 2020, everybody who heard
Hmm.
Ashley Singh read the budget rather last week, Wednesday, everybody who heard him read
Yes.
that budget knew for themselves there was nothing in it for them. Anybody who followed the
Hmm. Correct.
presentation and followed what has transpired thus far, and they're coming now to say, for instance, where salary for public servant is concerned, that
Yes.
there might be something. There's always something. Nothing definite. We're accustomed to when the budget is read, definitively
Hmm.
what's in it for public servants, for instance. Now you got all this kind of hide and seek kind of behavior. What is that about?
Well, that's the thing what surprised me. Don't remember Parag when she spoke that salary increases are always catered for in the budget. Listen, that is the first thing you need to come out with and say, look, we have allocated 20% or how much money to public servants increase in salary. That is what everybody looks forward to when it comes to the budget, and then we're going to focus on infrastructural work, education, and stuff like that. But you have this thing so secretive. You don't want to come out and tell the people what's entitled to them because they know that they don't have anything in store for public servants. This is a pro-private sector budget, as always. You have the top 1% being private sector, and the rest of the country who not benefiting much. There must be a balance. There must be a balance between private and public because majority of the folks in this country are public servants, and that is who you need to focus on.
Yep, yep, yep. You know, we were really hopeful that besides ourselves, we were hopeful that this budget would have catered more for public servants. There was ample enough money in the Natural Resources Fund and all of that. So we were really hopeful. I didn't expect this kind of failure again, yet again, in budget 2022. It really says three budgets out, they just do not care. We're joined now by the opposition chief whip, Christopher Jones. I say chief whip, opposition chief whip. You are our chief whip. Chris, welcome. How are you doing? Chris, welcome. A very good afternoon. I know you're busy there on the sidelines of the debate in National Assembly over Budget 2022. Welcome and thanks for making the time to chat with us. All right, go right ahead, Jeevan. Jump in if you can. Chris is going to find his footing.
Go, right. Most welcome, Sharon.
Oh, you yes.
Even good.
Thanks, Chris. Chris, David and I were just picking up on the conversation that yet again nothing in the budget for public servants. But Chris, as you've entered below the belt, we want to get from you. We get a sense that I don't know if it's in concrete yet that they're going to be shortening the period in which you can scrutinize the estimates. You can question them why they're spending this and that and so forth. Talk to us a bit about that, if it's still going forward, as is with these reduced times and so forth. We are picking up a news item out of, I think it's Village Voice, that suggests, they're trying to reduce the time. Biggest budget ever again, but you mustn't be allotted more time to scrutinize it, but less time. Talk to us about that, and then I'd love to get Devon's perspective as well.
Right. Thank you very much, Sharon. Indeed, the article carried by Village Voice, and as well it was carried by Gordon Mosley on News Source this morning. It is accurate. There is a submission that was made by the PPP to the business subcommittee, which will be meeting during the lunch break today. And that submission has reduced the amount of days allotted for the consideration of the estimates. Now, standing order 71 or 73, standing order 73.1 is very pellucid. It gives you a maximum of 7 days for you to consider it, for you to consider the estimates. Here it is now, the PPP is reducing it to 4 days, which in itself almost cripples the opposition ability to question, to scrutinize these estimates. I want to perhaps remind or inform some of your listeners that essentially what we will be doing as of next week is every single volume of the budget, which is 3 books, we have to go through each and every single page. As well, we have to go through each and every single line. And where there are questions that you need clarification on, that is where you seek it. The whole purpose of a parliament is to question government and get answers from government so that the populace will be au fait as to exactly what their monies are going to be spent on and whether or not it is the best expenditures for those monies. Now, the reducing of the days also reduce the time that you have to scrutinize specific ministries and agencies. For example, the Audit Office, the Parliament of Guyana, just to name 2, they have been reduced from half of an hour, 30 minutes, to 10 minutes, where essentially sometimes you ask one question, and in that one question, you have several follow-up
Yep.
questions based on
Yep.
your
Yep.
initial question, which is way past 10 minutes. Now, it speaks about transparency and accountability that the APNU AFC have been saying at nauseum that the People's Progressive Party Civic does not like. Transparency and accountability. Now, you ask yourself the question, why would a government that has increased the budget from last year to this year by 40%. This is a 40% increased budget. As well, this is the first budget that has the revenues from the oil resources in it. And therefore, you would even ask for more time to scrutinize these. And the government has since reduced it. It does not speak to transparency and accountability in government. It is a blatant attempt by the PPP to stymie the work of the opposition, to stymie scrutinizing of this budget as well too. Something is mischief is afoot.
I love that. Indeed, mischief is afoot. Mischief is afoot. Devin, what are your thoughts here?
Well, Chris said it most of it, and I do agree with him because we saw how they're rushing everything, and just we should have gotten I think a week or 12 days before we started the debate. We got a few days to prepare, but of course, all of opposition MPs are well equipped, so we went ahead with the debate. But I take a little bit further back when they had reduced the amount of days for the Public Accounts Committee, the amount of days they moved the no confidence motion against Honorable Member David Patterson, and now we're faced with this. So the PPP have a lot to hide, and they don't want to be scrutinized. They don't have that transparency within their DNA. So we know all what they're up to, but thank God for programs like these where it gives the opposition a voice, and the people have to pay attention. The everything is in the detail, and that's running from Sherrod. So we're going to do what we have to do as much as we could. But I'm pretty sure that having our chief whip is here, we're going to put up an opposition that we want the full allotted time for scrutinizing the estimates.
Yep, yep. I think well said, Devin. You know, this budget scrutiny process and debate and so on seem to have engaged the public more than normal. People are really, really, keen in terms of their interest in what is happening. People are fed up, to put it bluntly. People fed
They
up.
are.
They expected something out of this budget. You all say you're now spending the oil wells and so on, and then it's a damn script. And I've been paying particular interest in what they've been talking about in terms of lowering the cost of living, lowering the cost of living. Can you imagine that they've set aside $5 billion so they can go into communities and ask residents what is affecting them, so they can now develop programs, as they said, these were their words in the national budget, that they can attempt to lower the cost of living. Now, I mean, I saw them give 5 billion to I think some aspect of Ministry of Local Governments work in communities the of a similar nature, but not necessarily to alleviate cost of living. Now, look, people in this country, what $5 billion could do? $6 billion have been given to guys to go six, right? You give this whole
Mhm.
country $5 billion to alleviate the cost of living, folks, and Chris and Devin, these guys seem out of touch. You all see chicken price recently, yeah. You see bread,
Yeah,
planted,
they
and
are
so
out of
on,
touch.
the cost of living in this country.
They are out of touch. One of the contributors, he don't know anything about $300 for a power plant, and he normally pays 180 or 100 and something dollars. That's nonsense. You go to the market now, you could stock up the entire house or maybe at $58,000. Oh, you're touching $50,000 just to stock up, right? And everything gone up, everything gone up. Blood pressure now gone up with what the PPP is putting us through here in this country.
And I like how this struggle has been exemplified by the common man. These guys haven't prepared for social media. The thought was 2015, they're coming back in. Look, Crabman, pressure, pressure this bus pipe. I'm looking at a video on social media that was published yesterday, Chris and Divin,
Mm-hmm.
that suggests some school children in front of bishops were robbed. In front of the school. In front of the school.
Yeah.
They're being
Yeah.
robbed. And this is the heart of the city. This isn't some far flung place. Students at Bishop's High School, right in front of the school, you can see the shock on these school children's face. You can see how they're going to be scarred for the rest of their life by this experience. Somebody just
Exactly.
walk up to them and start hand in one of the girl's pocket, pulling out her phone. Right?
Mm-hmm.
This is
Mm-hmm.
public security. Three biggest budgets later. This is the point we've been making. Three biggest budgets later, and the citizens are no more secure than they were in 2021 when that budget was passed, or 2022, 2020, rather 2020 when that budget was passed, or 2021 when this budget was passed. This is broad daylight, Chris, in the heart of the city.
Exactly.
Some schoolgirls think they are safe in front of the school. Even thieves and criminals had little conscience. But
Mm-hmm.
all of that
Mm-hmm.
seem to have fled, right? And now in front of your school, you're not even safe. So, like when your parents drop you off, you gotta just run in the school quick.
Mm.
It's sad.
Exactly. Yeah, but what is even more sad, as we mentioned as well, the PPP ministers and the MPs cannot defend Budget 2022. So much so that we've just had the presentation by David Patterson. As you know, he covered natural resources as well as
Infrastructure and so
infrastructure.
on. Yeah.
Now,
Yep.
apparently, David Patterson has struck a nerve that immediately after him, you have Vikram Bharat, who is trying very furiously to defend this budget right now on the floor, and he can't do it. So much so that Bharat Jagdeo has hastily called a press conference to respond to David Patterson's presentation, which was just finished in the National Assembly. And that is to
Mm-hmm.
attest to the fact that the ministers can't defend this budget, that when our MPs speak, they got to bring out the big guns. So in a few minutes, you will see a press conference by Bharat Jagdeo, and he's doing
Yes.
this now to respond to David Patterson.
Yep. You know, they don't understand that they're in government, installed or
Exactly.
otherwise. They're in government, they have the helm, and they got to lead. They have
That's
to
right.
lead. But you know what is their default mode? When they run out of substance, which is very, very quickly, they go into SOPs.
Hmm.
What are the SOPs?
Correct.
Right? And
Correct.
who
Yes.
had put this and who had done that and all kinds of nonsense
Mhm.
again to detract from their record. That's how they operate.
Exactly. And Shara, to add to what Ethan said earlier as well, the fact of the matter that the PPP reduced the amount of days that our MPs had to prepare for the budget debate. Normally, you'll get like 4 days. The debate should have commenced Wednesday of this week instead of Monday. And the point was, I had to make the point to the speaker in writing, drawing to his attention that MPs are part time, right? And members of parliament are workers. And like, for example, when the budget was read on Wednesday, the Thursday, our MPs went off to their work, to their jobs. And so the only time really they could have started to scrutinize the budget, which we only received after Ashley Singh completed his presentation, which was about 8 o'clock at night, that they started their research. They needed information from the Parliament's office over the weekend, of which the Parliament office don't work. MPs, we don't have chauffeurs, we don't have secretaries, we don't have researchers, we don't have none of those at our disposal. And that is why I want to just constantly remind your listeners is that the opposition members of Parliament have no resources outside of him or herself, is that they have to go to work, they have their family to look after, but yet still they find time to scrutinize these budgets. And every time our MPs make a presentation, it is like a thorn in the side of the PPP because they always get hit
Mm-hmm.
hard. And no matter how many times they attempt to stymie the work of the opposition, to stymie and reduce the time that we have to peruse these estimates, we always come out on top because we do our work
Yes.
that is necessary. And as I mentioned too, in 2017, when the then APNU AFC government attempted to reduce the time for the consideration of the estimates, it was no less of a person than Madame Gail Teixeira who rose on a point of order and argue these points that the standing orders provide for you to get 7 days for the consideration of these estimates. And we are saying when we meet with them today that the reduction of the days from 5 to 4 is a non-starter. It's a non-starter.
Yes.
And as I mentioned before, budget 2022 constitutes 40.
Go ahead, Chris.
My apologies. It constitutes 40% increase from budget 2021. As well, this is the first budget that has the resources from oil. It needs to be transparent, it needs to be scrutinized. And why does the PPP hate transparency and accountability? And when they jump on their platform, they like to preach about them being transparent. So if you like to be transparent and accountable, why are you reducing the time for the consideration of the estimates?
Yep.
What is it that is inside here that you want to hide? What is it that you're fearful that the opposition will reveal to the public? Because I can tell your listeners again that all of our MPs have been going through these budget estimates with a fine teeth comb, and the amount of questions, some damning questions that will be put to the PPP when we meet next week, all and sundry will be shocked. And that is what the PPP is trying to hide. We're thievery. It is bare thievery. This is nothing more that could be said. This is a blatant attempt by the PPP for thievery. And that is why they want to reduce the consideration of the estimates.
And you know, it is strange based on everything Chris has articulated, because we have this 40% increase in the budgetary spending, we should actually be having more time and not less time.
Correct.
That is the irony there.
Exactly.
More time and not less time. But Chris has adumbrated everything you needed to hear there is because the thief and the squandermania. Chris and Devin, remember, it is our vigilance in the National Assembly that we highlighted, among other things, in the last budget, the regional security teams that them guys were funding,
Yes.
right? Were funding regional security teams. Some people call it the black clothes that they were bringing back. And we see since then, these SWAT teams and regional security teams, what happened with Mr. Boston in Essequibo, right? Again, it is because of the vigilance of the Avenue AFC parliamentarians. We unearthed that. Among other things, we realized back then for a city getting a lot of money, for a city getting $50 million, this tranche around again, lots of money.
Yes.
Right? Being doled out for all kinds of things. It seems as though lots of the First Lady has a right to do her projects and so on. I ain't knocking that. But in some areas, they seem to have overlap in responsibilities, right? When I hear when the First Lady doing infrastructure works, for instance, on the seawalls, right? Then what is the Ministry of Public Infrastructure doing with 76 point something $billion? You understand me? So it is strange to me what is happening. But they like these things to look nice, right? And fancy clothes and so on got to wear.
Sharon, the PPP's pocket deep. They're trying to stock up as much as they could because they know they're coming out of government very, very soon. And we want our listeners out there and viewers so on to take the message back to their neighbors and their community that the PPP is coming out, right? And we have to remain vigilant. And we need all boots on the ground. So when we say go, is go. We know the PPP is up to something, and as we fight in Parliament here, we need this knowledge is go and take it, right? Take the message to other folks.
Indeed. Chris again articulated the shortened time, the nature of the beast, basically finding every trick in the book to get ahead, finding every trick on the book to get ahead. I really want to thank all of our MPs, you, Chris, and Devin, and all of the others. David, who just completed his presentation, all the other folks who are standing in defense yet again of the people of this country. Of the people of this country, you can imagine the first time we produce in oil and nothing tangible for us, nothing tangible. What expectation you should have from the second and the third? What expectation? Still, you can build how much of Marriott you want to build through these budgets. The average person can't go to Marriott, especially now. The average person,
Exactly.
you think could go to Marriott? Huh? That little boy who lost his life there a couple of weeks ago, Jesus Hernandez, in one lifetime, he going to Parliament. If we don't create bills and policies and programs that affect them directly at that age, huh? Look,
Mm-hmm.
look, 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 the health
Mm-hmm.
system. You remember all the things they talk about they can do with COVID and COVID and COVID. COVID running rampant out here. People are dying out here on a
Exactly.
daily basis. These policies, if any, not meeting the people and the money, definitely. I haven't had, Chris, I don't know if you and even get this, but people always stop you and say, oh, yeah, push them to increase the salary now. Huh?
Yeah.
Things tight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. On that note as well too. Yesterday in the Parliament, Priya Manik Chan sought to defend and justify, as you would refer to, hamper nation
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
these cash grants,
Mm-hmm.
because essentially the PPP, the saying is that I prefer to teach you how to fish as opposed giving you a fish every
Correct.
now and again. But the PPP
Correct.
loved that idea. The PPP would prefer a nation of mendicants, right? They preferred a mendicant nation that ever so often they dole out a cash grant for this, a cash grant to that. Leave the people in
Mm-hmm.
poverty. That ever so often, it's like a massa day type, a modern day massa type arrangement. That ever
Mm-hmm.
so often the PPP will come down from the
Uh-huh.
throne and they will go to their loyal subjects and they'll say, here is a cash grant. And then they got the cameras line up and you would see the parading the poor citizens of this country where they got, I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, things are tight. So if anybody gives you physical cash, you would
Yeah.
express your
Yeah.
appreciation because things
Yeah.
are tight. You got rent, you got to buy
Yes.
food, you got to pay bills. It is that bad. And when you go in front of the camera, you being truthful. I am thankful for receiving this cash grant and so forth. But that is what the PPP sees as their greatest achievement, that you have people
Mm-hmm.
around the country who are in dire straits, that they can turn up and say, look at 225,000, look at 15,000. And then they'll use your image to bolster their propaganda and their political gain. It
Yes.
is wicked that, listen, I mean, words sometimes are not sufficient for you to explain what a type of administration we have. And I keep telling people is that if you look at the PPP's track record when they were when in office to the 23 years, it is the same thing. That is the modus operandi. They
Mm-hmm.
believe that the people of this country are stupid. And that's why in my budget presentation, I titled the budget a most disrespectful to the intelligence of the Guyanese people. Because that is exactly what it is. They believe that they can tell people, listen, I can give you a hamper. You gotta get increase in your salary. They can say to the soldiers how they were so happy to do in their budget presentation that at the end of this year, we could give you a one-half, 1 month salary. And when January comes, the one-half money done gone. To all of these
Yes.
soldiers that they would have given this 1 month, one-half salary to in December, in January, they're right back at square one. February, they're right back at square one, and so on for the rest of the month. And that
Mm-hmm.
is why when you
Mm-hmm.
look at the pattern from the APNU AFC government, we were consistent. Every single year, public servants receive an increase in their wages and salaries. Every single year, the income tax threshold continued to rise. I remind your listener, Sherrod, it was David Granger, then opposition leader in Parliament back in 2012 or 2011, that when we were the one seat majority in opposition, that when the PPP attempted to move old age pension from 6,000 to 6,005 thereabout, my figures may be off. It was the APNU and the AFC with our one seat majority that moved the motion and countered that. And old age pension jumped from 6 to 12. And consistently thereafter, with under the APNU AFC government, we've moved old age pension all the way up. We did Adam Break then in government that once the oil resources starts to flow, that old age pension would be moved from the amount that was then to $50,000. So around this
Correct.
time, our senior citizens of this country would have been enjoying old age pension at $50,000 because we have oil. And similarly to the public servants, as we spoke about the income tax threshold, it would have been moved at least by this year between figures of 100,000
Mhm.
or upwards 125,000. Had it been moved to
Correct.
125,000, the public servants now, today, would have been receiving $17,400 more in their pocket, direct money in their hands. Not what the PPP is doing, that sometime later up in the
Mhm.
year, they're going to come and give you $25,000 for some school assistance. And then they're going to run around to farmers and say, we'll give you $50,000 for some farm assistance. This is what, listen, PPP wants to create a mendicant nation, and they have been
Yes.
successful thus far in doing it. And they are preying on the vulnerability of our citizens, which is wicked because, as you mentioned, every single program you have, Sharon, things are tight. While these
Mhm.
people in government, while the PPP ministers and so forth continue to live in the big fancy house, Sherrod, I keep saying in life and politics, there's perception and there is reality. And the AP and UAFC MPs continue to preach about the reality, what is happening in this country. The reality when the PPP living in a big fancy house, got the Prado and the drivers. None of these ministers and these PPP MPs don't got the market, you know. They got the maid or the assistant along with the driver going to the supermarkets and shop. All they do is turn up home. They don't pay light bill. They don't pay phone bill. They don't pay for the chauffeur. It's you, the taxpayers, who pay these things. So they live in a bubble. They live that when they open the fridge in the morning, they got choices between apple juice, grape juice, orange juice, or coconut water. When you open your fridge, you ain't even got water inside. That is the
Right.
reality. And
Right.
that is
Right.
why they are so far removed. That when we're arguing that, listen, cost of living high, people can't buy plantain in this country. You can't go in border market and buy shallot, celery, or okra, pumpkin, callaloo. You can't buy these things in large quantity as you used to before. Because before you had more disposable income. Now you don't have it. People keep putting on Facebook ever so often that before they used to go to supermarkets and pay 20,000 or 25,000 and get a whole month's supply. And they're saying now that that figure has since moved to $38,000 and the wages and salaries have not moved to match that. That is the situation we have in this country. You have young public servants who are at the University of Guyana trying to further their education. They have to take out loans. They have to pay those loans. At the same time, they are paying rent. At the same time, they got a child or two that they got to find the money for. You would have expected that this so-called caring government in this budget, which is 40% more than we had last year, which is the first budget to have the oil resources inside of it, you would have expected them to say, as they promised during the elections campaign, that the University of Guyana will be free. If you look at the allocation that they would have made to the University of Guyana, it is almost similar to that of last year. No significant increase. No significant increase. Nothing for public servants. And then here is Minister Parag again telling the public servant, "Oh, we got things inside for you. Wait there. Show me wait there." You
Mhm.
know, as Manzo would have said in her presentation, show me where you're spending your money, and I will tell you what are your priorities. And the PPP's priorities is not in the housewife, is not in the single parent, is not in the women of this country. It is not to the students at the University of Ghana. It is certainly not to the public servants. And as I asked the question in the house, I don't know what public servants, members of the Guyana Police Force and members of the Guyana Defense Force. I don't know what the category of these people would have done to the People's Progressive Party Civic that year after year, budget after budget, they are feeling the wrath of the PPP. But meanwhile, you have another expenditure of $6 billion into a sugar industry which is dead, has been
Yep,
dead.
yep,
You can't
yep.
even say it's under cardiac arrest. It has been dead for years. And the PPP continues to dole monies into that dead entity. But you know, Sherrod, quickly, the sugar
Talk to us, Chris.
workers are much more astute. And I mean, Guyanese in general are much more astute because they have access to the internet, they have access to information, and they know what's going on. You can't packoo them. So the sugar workers, in fact, what the sugar workers are doing now, they recognize and they know that the PPP wants them. The PPP needs their vote, and the PPP will do anything for them. You know the saying, when you catch a packoo, you just bust the back. So the sugar workers of this country essentially sees the PPP as a packoo, and they know that the PPP wants them. So every 2 morning, the sugar workers them down tools and call a protest. The minute the sugar workers sneeze, you got 6, 10 ministers reaching up to whether they're with a tissue in the hand, come blow your nose. You understand me? So the sugar workers have found that the PPP is a paku party. So ever so often, the sugar workers will be like, listen, but I think we want a little increase in money. We all think, yeah, drop your tools and the PPP come running. That's right. And I don't blame the sugar workers. When you catch a paku, you bust the back, and that's exactly what the sugar workers are
Bust the
doing.
back indeed.
But it is exactly, but it's blatant discrimination that has been occurring consistently with the People's Progressive Party Civic as it relates to the public servants, the policemen and women, and the members of the Ghana Descent Force. It is blatant discrimination.
Correct, 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 correct. Chris, thank you for putting things in perspective. Thank you so much, my brother. I let the final word as we wrap up go to Devin. MP Devin says.
Well, yes, Sherrod. Well said, Chief. And you couldn't have said it better. Clearly, what we're seeing, again, we're just reiterating this point that the PPP don't care about the poor man in this country. There's nothing in place there for them. And that's what we have to always remember, that the only party that cares about the people of Guyana genuinely is the APNU plus AFC. And as we continue, we're going to wrap up today and then into tomorrow. Continue to share the life, continue to follow what is happening. Um, we have incredible MPs. And let me just say this here, Sherrod.
Go ahead, sir. Go
As
right
a
ahead.
young MP, I expected, I expected coming into this honorable house and listening to the other side that it would present things of substance and facts. It has turned abuse out from the other side. Always a heckling and this. And like you said earlier, they always bring up the SOP. We're done with that. Done with that. We know we're going back into government soon. So we don't care about what, well, we do care, but it's not of anything to do with the budget. Don't bring about SOPs and this and all kind of thing, bringing in people's personal lives into the debate and all kind of thing. Oh, I am very, very proud to be a member of the APNU AFC. And, we are fighting a good fight. But we know that we can do more with the support of the entire Guyana. And that is where the power lies. Right? Follow what is happening in the debate, but you be the judge for yourself. This government, PPP, don't care about the small man. All they care about is themselves and their cronies. And having said that, I know a bright day will come for Guyana when
Amen, my
when
brother.
we get back into government, and then we will have to correct all the wrongs that they have done. God bless Guyana.
Amen, my brother. Amen. Amen on that. Fantastic. Christopher Jones, Devin Sayers, members of parliament on the opposition benches. Great to have each and every one of you. Chris, our opposition chief whip. Great to have you guys on the program today as we were discussing there's no method to this madness that is the PPP budget. No method to it at all. It's just pure madness. Thanks, guys. Thanks for sharing this time with us on the program.
Most welcome,
Sure.
Sharon.
Awesome. Folks out there you have it. There you have it. There you have it. There you have it. That's what's happening in the National Assembly, guys. Good to see Glenn Mingo Byrne and Pamela Tova. Good to see Judy. Good to see Maxine, Debbie, Gordon Smith, Erwin Don Cook, Glenn Mingo Byrne, Erwin. Good to see you. Cecile Ogle. Cecile, how you doing now? Good to see you there, Cecile. Beatrice Selby, guys. That's what's happening. That is what is happening. And that is why the programs we do are needed more and more, guys, because we want to get the information to you. To you. Dan Griff Zanley, good to see you. Faye Ferdinand, how you doing, Faye? Good to see you. Welcome back, Faye. Like you went on a little vacation, girl. Roxanne Qualis. Roxanne, how are you? Natasha Natasha Bernice. Good to see Natasha Bernice. Good to see Adam Passat. Pace and power. And Adam added plantain chip at the end. Adam, you know you're able. Rowena Williams, good to see you. You know, all are welcome. All are welcome on these programs, wherever you join us from. You can hold differing views. And you know, tomorrow, Friday, when we open up the mic, we hope folks call in and you don't have to have the same views we have. That's the difference on this side. You know, you can share different views. Them guys who manage it, NCN and DPI, so they lock up there, you know. You can't come there with no contrary view. You cannot. Sheldon Joseph, you dare not go there with any contrary view. Rose Capel, you dare not go there with contrary views. Folks, that's our time for today. Remember, we have to keep our programs going and we depend on you guys solely. You know, the advertisers frighten them. The advertisers not only frighten them, they're frightened victimization. So they don't want to associate in a public way with programs like ours, and that is why we depend wholly on you guys. And we're happy because nobody can dictate what we talk about and who we talk about and all of that. Nobody can do that. You are the ones we depend on to help our programs keep going, and you guys have risen to the challenge. We want to thank you guys and invite those of you who've never done it, who've never come on board in summer. Y'all only come and y'all eat your food. Y'all never even tell me it tastes good. Share the live stream, folks. Smash that emoji button. We got several platforms available for you guys to be able to contribute to our program in a meaningful way. We got Cash App. We know we lashed some of y'all with Cash App. Is the dollar sign in the ring 592. The dollar sign in the ring 592. We're available via PayPal and Zelle. Is the one email for both PayPal and Zelle. In the ring 592 at gmail.com. In the ring 592 at gmail.com. And then we're available at MMG, that's the GTT system locally here in Guyana, the national capital city where we broadcast our program from. MMG, that's the local cash app. 627 6963. 627 We're available via MoneyGram and Western Union as well. You need guidance in any of these platforms, folks. Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid to WhatsApp us at that same energy number, 627 6963. Selena Fraser, I see the thing. Selena, all the way from Waterloo, Canada. Selena, thank you so much. Respect and manners, Selena. Selena's been with us from day one. Real trooper, real bona fide supporter of all our programs. Respect and manners to all of you guys out there. Good to see you again. Sandra Hanover, Auntie Sandra. Good to see all of you. Marilyn King and all of you beautiful, fantastic folks. Cycling or cycling, I see a couple of days, girl. Everything good? Good to see you. Cycling. Everything good? I want cycling to call in tomorrow. I want how things go by cycling end. Eileen Griffith Norton Innes. Eileen, you all right? Good afternoon to each and every one of you folks. Stay safe. Whatever you do, stay safe. Stay safe. Stay safe out there, guys. Stay safe out there. We love each and every one of you. We're going to see you guys right back here tonight at 8 o'clock. In the ring, let's fight. And for those of you who joined us last, you see we got an actual bell now. We ring in when we come on. Ping, 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 ping. An actual bell. An actual bell. And, you know, I'm sitting across the studio from where the In Ring broadcast is broadcasted from. I'm sitting in the area where we do the podcast, and I watch any bell. Ping, 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 ping. We're gonna see you guys again back here in the ring at 8 this evening. Thanks for joining the live program, Laureen Ali Cock. Laureen Ali Cock, good to see you. Wendy Denny, see you guys at 8. Princess Dago, good to see each and every one of you. Richard Fordyce, Marilyn King, good to see you guys here. Good to see you guys. Stay safe out there. Stay safe. And the weather looks picture perfect. Picture perfect. 34 degrees outside. Weather.com tells us 34 degrees outside. Guys, continue to enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Back at 8. Pace and power. Pace, 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 and power. Stay safe, guys, and enjoy whatever you're having for lunch. Enjoy, enjoy. Natasha, Bernice, enjoy. Maxine Monroe and Michelle Franklin. We see you guys. Clifton Smith, we see you. As Clifton says, have a blessed rest of the day. Pamela Dover, you guys stay safe out there. Stay safe. Y'all know we love y'all. Hate to go, but it's expedient that we go. Hate to go, guys. Good to see you, each and every one of you, wherever you're joining us from. Have a safe afternoon, guys. That's our time. Stay safe. We say stay safe. Stay safe. Behave yourself.